Okay, this is lesson 5.8 homework. I want to go through some of those for you so you can see how you're doing. You can use this as just a supplement for your homework. Fast forward to which ones you need and skip the ones you don't. But this should help you just work through these word problems and understand them before you come to class on Thursday. All right, your first assignment was number 1, and it is stated, the sum of two numbers is more than 20, and one number is 4 more than the other number. What are the numbers? So you have two numbers, and you know that that's what you're looking for because that's what the question asks. And between those two numbers, you need to represent them as a variable because those are the variables you're looking for. So if we would make number 1 number and number 2 number, we don't know what they are. They're not number 1 and number 2, but we need to represent them. Let's make one of them x. If we make one of them x, what is the relationship between them? What would the other one be? Using x, find out what the relationship is, and then you can write what that one is. Let me say that a little bit better. The sum of two numbers, okay, sum is addition, remember. The sum of two numbers is more than, this is the sign for more than, right? Is more than 20. And one number is 4 more than the other number. So here is what we're looking for to get our variables. One number is x, then the other number is 4 more than that number. Okay? So one has to be x, and one has to be x plus 4. Because this one is 4 more, it would be plus 4. So now we have represented both numbers. One is x plus 4. Now, let's use the rest of the information we have to write our equation. It says the sum of the two numbers is more than 20. So the sum means addition again. So if we add the sum of the two numbers, x plus 4, those are our two numbers, x and x plus 4, the sum of that we know is going to be more than 20. More than 20. So that's your equation that you need to work with, and then you just solve for x to find what the two numbers are. Remember, the question is what are the numbers? So we want to know both of them, not just the one. So let's do this one together. X plus 4. Well, parentheses tell us to start here, but we can't simplify this anymore. And we also know that addition, we can add anything in any order. So we're going to add the two x's. It won't matter if we do this first or this first. So x plus x is 2x. If you have one x and another x and you add them together, now you have two x's. Plus 4 is left over here, is greater than 20. All right, then we want to subtract 4 from this side and this side so that we can isolate the x over here, like we've done many times already. So 2x plus 4, take away 4, is greater than 20, take away 4. So we've just took 4 away from both sides, which leaves us here with 0, and means that we just have 2x here is greater than 16. Excuse me. Now, in order to isolate x here, we will have to divide both sides by 2, giving us 1 here. Divide 16 by 2, that will give us 8. So we're left with x is greater than 8. So now let's go back to our question. What are the numbers? Well, the first number we said is just x. So number one is going to be 8. And the second number will be x plus 4. So 8 plus 4 would make this one 12. So our answer is, our numbers are 8 and 12. All right, number 2. A certain number times 23 and added to 15 is greater than 429. What is the number? All right, let's read it again. A certain number times 23. Times means multiplication. Times 23. And then added to 15, added, of course, is adding to 15, is greater than is this way, greater than 429. All right, well, let's read through it again, and that will help us know what to write. What is the number? Now, this question even tells you we're looking for one number, not numbers. We're looking for one number. So a certain number, there again, one number, a certain number times 23. So here's our certain number. If we multiply it times 23 and added to 15, added to 15 is greater than 429. Okay, so you've come up with your equation by just simply reading through and deciphering the words to symbols, and now you can solve easily for x. We're going to take 15 from both sides first. 23x plus 15 minus 15, and then take that away also from this side. Leaves us 0 here, so we're left with 23x is greater than 414. Now we simply have to divide to isolate the x by itself. We're going to make this 1x, or just x, and 414 divided by 23. You can do that on your calculator. Should be 18, I believe. Okay, so we're only looking for one number, so the number that we're looking for is 18. Okay, again, pause when you need to so that you can do these on your own and figure them out instead of just listening to me doing them. Pause them and then listen, and then pause and listen. Let's do 7. For Mr. Rogers to pay his monthly bills, he must make at least $1,675 each month. Each month. That's what he needs to pay his bills. He sells cars and makes a guaranteed salary of $850 per month, plus $225 commission on each car he sells. What is the least number of cars he must sell each month to meet his monthly obligations? Okay, this one's a little more complicated. The question is, what is the least number of cars he must sell each month to meet his monthly obligations? Well, we know his monthly obligations is $1,675. We need to know what he must at least sell in order to meet that obligation. Okay, so whatever it is he must do here has to be greater than or equal to this, right? He can go over that amount, but it at least has to be this amount. This whatever many cars he sells has to at least meet that amount. It can go over. So we're going to make this greater than or equal to this. This can't be less than, because he wouldn't meet his bills. Well, we know that every month he gets $850. That's just his salary. We know he gets that. Well, we know we need more than that because that doesn't equal what he needs for the monthly bills. We know that he gets commission of $225 a month on each car. Do we know how many cars he sells? No, neither does he. So there you see is your variable. We don't know how many cars he sells. We know it's 225. So every time he sells a car, he gets another $225 of commission. Well, if he sells 3 cars, then he would get 3 times 225, right? If he sells 6 cars, you get 6 times 225. We don't know how many he sells, though, so that becomes our variable, and we know that that number times 225 will be the amount he gets for each car he sells. That would be added to the $850 he automatically gets every month. Now we have our equation. Now we can solve for x and figure out what is the least number of cars he must sell each month. So the answer is how many cars basically is he selling each month, or does he have to in order to get by? So you would solve for x here. I'm going to let you do that on your own. You're just going to, do what you've done before. Take 850 away from both sides, and then you're going to divide by 225 here. This will not change because there's no negative numbers involved here. The only time this flips over So when you multiply or divide by a negative. So that should be the same. Let's move on to 8. All right, 8 says, the sum of two numbers is at most 11, and their difference is 21. What are the numbers? The sum of two numbers is at most 11, and their difference is 21. What are the two numbers? Okay. So the sum of two numbers is at most 11. Now we know we have two numbers again. So we need to figure out how are we going to represent those two numbers. Well, one of them can be x. That's a simple way to represent it. But what information do we know to know what we can write number 2 as? How can we write that second one? Excuse me. The sum of two numbers is at most 11. Okay, we got sum, we know is addition, and at most 11. Their difference is 21. We know difference means subtract, and then 21. This here can help us write our x and what else we can represent this as, right? Because the difference is 21. The difference between them is 21. So let's say one is 10 and one is 20. We have one number that's 20. When you have one number that's 10, the difference would be 10, right? But the difference between these is 21. So in order to figure out 21, making the difference, you have to add or subtract from x to find out, to give you the other number. If the difference between them is 21, you could represent one as x, and then the x plus the difference between them would be the other one. Does that make sense? Maybe it doesn't. But basically, your addition and subtraction are hand in hand. You make fact families. If you have an x and you know the difference between one number and another is 21, well, then you just add that 21 to it. The difference between 20 and 10 is 10. If you didn't know what 10 was, and I said the difference between this 20 and this number is 10, then you would know it would either have to be 10 or 30, depending on which way you would go with the difference. We'll find that out in our equation if we just represent our numbers in this way, x and x plus 1. Now we know we can do the sum of the two numbers is at most 11. Okay, sum meaning addition. So let's write our equation. We know the sum of these two numbers, x plus 21, is at most. Okay, so at most, so that's the most it can be is 11. Okay, at most. It can't be 12. Then it would be at most 12. It's going to be 11 or below that. It can at most be 11. So you have a less than or equal. This is at most 11, not more than 11. It's up to 11. And now, again, you can solve your equation for your x. And remember, you need to plug it back in here to give us your answer, because your question is what are the numbers, not just one number, both of them. So after you solve this, plug it in and tell me which two are your two numbers. Okay, the last one. Number 9. Paul earns twice as much per week as his sister Naomi. If she makes $30 per week more than her brother John, and the sum of their salaries, Paul, Naomi, and John, all three of them, is at most $330, what range can their salaries take each week? All right, this one's a little more involved. You got 3 variables you're looking for. You're looking for a Paul. You're looking for a Naomi. And John. So let's see what way would be the best way to write these. Who's going to have x? Sometimes it's easier to put x in certain places. Paul earns twice as much per week as his sister Naomi. Well, with just these 2 bits of information, we know he's going to be 2 times as much as Naomi. So it would be logical that Naomi would be the x, and it would make him 2x. let's see if when we add John, if that still makes sense. If she, Naomi, makes $30 per week more than her brother John, okay, now let's stop there. If she makes $30 per week more than her brother John, so now I think it would be good. We could just, how could we represent John's? If Naomi is X, then John would be X what? She's going to make $30 more. So it's not X plus 30 because she's the one that makes more. It's X minus 30 because John makes $30 less. So if you start with Naomi as X, that really probably is the easiest way to do it. You could do it another way, but that's probably the easiest. Okay, so we got our 3 variables that we need, and now more information to come. And the sum, there's a keyword, so the sum means add. The sum of their salaries, Paul, Naomi, and John now, is at most $330. At most, meaning that's the largest amount it would be. So again, it's kind of like the one we did before. Your symbol is going to be at most. Okay, but it could be equal to, like before too, right? At most. That's the most it could be, is $330. Okay, and what's the sum of their salaries? Well, that's what we need to find out. But we'll just write the sum as our variables here. So we have Paul's plus Naomi plus John's income. And that should be at most $330. So there's your equation. Let's work through this one a little bit, and you can finish it off. The parentheses, you can't do anything else with this. And I just put the parentheses there to help you see that that's John's income. You really don't have to put it there. There's nothing to distribute or anything. So, and we can add and subtract in any order. You typically would go this way. And this is the easiest order to do because we have a 2x, an x, and an x. So again, think of 2 apples, 1 apple, and 1 apple. So you're going to have 2, 3, 4 apples, or 4 x's. Temptation is to do multiplication there. Some of you make that mistake. So you have 4x there, and then you still have a minus 30 is less than or equal to 330. And then we want to get rid of this 30, so we're going to, always take that one in front of it. It's a subtraction, so you're going to add to both sides. This leaves you with nothing, so you're left with 4x is less than or equal to 300. And then you need to isolate your x, so in order to get rid of the multiplication sentence here, you're going to divide both sides by 4, which will leave you with 1x, or just x, is less than or equal to, should be 90. Okay, so x is 90. Now you need to plug your 90 back into your variables over here. You should write out Paul's income, and then write what it is. Naomi, write what it is, and plug your x, your 90, into here. So Naomi's going to be 90, but Paul is 2 times 90, and John is 90 minus 30. List all those out to complete that answer to that question. All right, hopefully this helps, and we'll see you again on Thursday.